2014 Ford Mustang GT, and this one is actually optioned with the track pack, which includes a Torsen differential, 3.73 final gear ratio, oil cooler, and Recaro seats. This one's obviously not stock. We have various mods, full mod list as always down in the description. We have 19x11 Apex EC7s with 285 section width Cup 2 tires, camber plates with -3 degrees of camber, Bilstein shocks, Ford performance springs with a 1-inch drop and sway bars, control arms front and rear, 14-inch front Brembo brakes, and G-Lock R12 front and R10 rear pads, as well as a shifter bushing and insert, and a Borla S-Type catback. Now this is actually my first time behind the wheel of a Mustang GT. This is the S197 generation. We're powered by a 5-liter naturally aspirated Coyote V8 engine, making 420 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque, made it to a 6-speed manual transmission. That's the Getrag unit, not the Tremec, which is important for not only the feel of the transmissions, but also the reliability. We're weighing in over 3,600 pounds. And getting into the interior, it's very much American budget, I would say. A lot of hard plastics, really big 5.0 to remind you what kind of engine you got. You paid for not the EcoBoost, or I guess they didn't even have the EcoBoost back then, but you paid for not the V6. So the ergonomics, normally American cars are better suited to taller drivers, but here, the clutch, when you have to fully press it in, my knee is almost locked out. But then the brake and the throttle are way too close, and my knee is too bent. Even fully pressing on the brake, it's too close. So the ergonomics here are a bit wonky. Steering wheel does not telescope, it just tilts, and it's quite large. You have the retro gauges, which either you love or you hate. I think it's better to have analog retro gauges than modern digital ones, in my opinion. But at least we got a 6-speed manual. We're gonna turn traction off because otherwise it gets too aggressive mid-corner. Okay, all right. Now we have McPherson strut in the front and a live rear axle at the rear. You don't see that often in sports cars, but I feel like certain American cars, where you look at the Mustang, you look at the Corvette, they relied on some older technologies for longer than most others. Wow, that's a good amount of power though, for only 3,600 pounds. Brakes are really grabby, making it hard to naturally heel toe. Overly grabby brakes based on the throttle response and pedal positioning, but I'm sure that's something you can get used to. You gotta remember, the owner takes this out on track. Now there's another issue, which is that if you're wide open throttle all the way to the 6800 red line, the clutch can sometimes get stuck, and then you have to get your foot underneath it to unlock it. So we'll either go wide open throttle to around 6,000 RPM, or if we go to redline, we'll go around 80% throttle. Oh man, what was that? Traction is off. Was that still traction kicking in mid-corner? You can also feel the rear. I mean, having that live rear axle is really not helping the car feel planted and settled over the bumps. It's easily upset. Oh yeah, these brakes, like, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'll either entering a corner or mid-corner, it'll just grab, even though I'm being smooth with the brake application. Not sure what's going on here. Feeling the rear want to get a little bit playful there. You can feel the car kind of shake and shimmy around you, but it's not very, there go the brakes again. It's not very communicative. And see there, because of the pedal positioning, my clutch wasn't all the way fully depressed, so I couldn't get into third. And then I had to press my leg in further. The ergonomics here are just really not ideal at all. You can feel a ton of weight at the front end. That 5-liter Coyote V8. This is a car that is not giving me confidence. Steering is also pretty dead. The brake behavior is very bizarre. It really shows you how far Mustangs have come in the last few years. I mean, driving a GT 350R the other day is really the pinnacle of Mustang. And it shows you how far they've come. This feels far more brutish, feels far heavier, even though in reality the weights aren't that far apart. This doesn't handle its weight that well. Part of that's going to be chassis engineering and tuning. Part of that's going to be the suspension. We're relatively firm. We have this crashy suspension that, again, the rear, you feel the compromise there, especially more so than the front. And goddamn, these brakes, what is going on, dude? Why does it keep grabbing on and off like that? Something with traction. Advanced track on, traction control off. Also, the gates are very close in terms of the lateral spacing, so I wonder if money shifting is going to be an issue on track. You still have a little bit of lateral slop despite it being shorter lateral throws. There's a reason why the Tremec is usually preferred over the Getrag. Now at least you have the 5-liter V8, and that is definitely the centerpiece of this car, because everything else feels... Oh, buddy, why are you crossing the double yellows? I'm literally going under the speed limit in these corners. That's before someone ats me for speeding. Oh, what is up, Z06? We're reviewing that exact car very soon, so subscribe if you want to see that. We've already compared it against a 458 Italia. We're going to be reviewing it against a GT3 RS next. But yeah, this car is very much engine first, and everything else is second or third priority. If you look at a car like the EcoBoost, the current gen EcoBoost, far sharper front end, you know, the chassis feels far more planted. You don't have this live rear axle in the rear making you feel unsteady and uncertain and nervous, especially getting a bump mid-corner. But there you have a turbo inline 4. It's about trade-offs. Here, the interior is a lot more dated. The build quality is not quite as nice. You have a few squeaks and rattles, but then at least you have the V8. Speaking of which, let's give you a pull. I like that the gears are relatively short. I am short shifting though at 6,000. Yeah, I gotta admit, I had higher hopes for this car because, you know, I've seen what Mustangs can be, and I know that this is not a dark horse. This is not a GT350R, obviously not. But considering the more modern EcoBoost I've driven and those higher trim, top tier Mustangs, I mean, apart from the engine, this one feels far more compromised and far more dated than even the more modern EcoBoost examples. The steering is got a little bit of slop right off center. It's relatively accurate, but there's no feel. The transmission is a bit frustrating to use. The brakes are unpredictable. The ergonomics are compromised. I don't know, guys. I'm not trying to be a hater here. I just I'm just a bit disappointed. You got to remember though that this 2014 is the last model year of the S197, the 5th generation Mustang, right? And the S550 then moved to independent rear suspension, which is going to really overcome one of the biggest weaknesses of this car with that strut front and 3-link rear with the live axle. The car feels a bit out of its element today on this bumpy, technical, canyon twisty road, and I feel that on a smoother road, whether that's a smooth racetrack or even just a smoother, more high-speed sweeper kind of road like Angeles Forest down in Los Angeles, the car would feel a little bit more at home and not like a fish out of water. Yeah, the seating also has this like, the Recaros have this weird softness to the bolstering, and then the suspension is on the firmer side, so you also feel like the car itself is quite stiff and the whole chassis is kind of shaking and jostling around, but then the seat is a little bit squishy and then you kind of move within it. Big shout out to the owner, Raf, for letting me review his Mustang GT. Shout out to Fenton from the Zygreen channel for making this review possible. My friends, if you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. Much love, and I'll see you all in the next one.